of nothingness.
My name is Christopher Albright. This is Panel by Panel, a show in which we read your favorite comic books. And today with me we have Frank Martin, the writer, and Gerald von Stoddard, the artist. How are you guys doing today?
Good. What is this?
Where am I?
Here we go, man!
Is this Family Feud?
I'm very excited because this is the most different one that we've had. I haven't got to have two people on at the same time. I expect this to be just an entire cluster and just like one of the worst episodes ever. But
Such a hype man, let me tell you.
Yes, I am.
Guys, Flavor of the comic world.
Today we're going to read through Immortal Coil issue number 2. I believe that Frank Martin started on this project at a later point in its production. Gerald, you started it early on.
Mm-hmm.
So how many pages did Frank actually get to write here?
No, I mean, well, okay, we'll jump right into it. No, I mean, Frank plotted out most of the flashback pages, opened the comic that I had done and that I'd already planned. But from then on, right after those, Frank had already sent me the setup, the plot. Because we had the characters, but there was some discussion about how we were going to introduce them. I mean, Frank and I had talked a lot before. He didn't just write something and say, "I hope this is kind of." No, I mean, we talked a lot about the story. I mean, he went over. He had issue 1, and I gave him a list of the characters and what was going on, some of my notes, plot breakdowns. And so there was a lot of discussion before actually getting a script. I mean, it wasn't like right, Frank? It wasn't like a final script. I think Frank was handling that issue with like kid gloves, right? Would you say a little bit?
When I came on, Gerald had finished the flashback pages, more or less.
Okay.
They were all done. So everything I scripted is basically everything that occurs in the present. And he knew the characters and he knew what he wanted to transpire as the story got progressed, but he didn't know how to start that present day timeline in issue 2. So I kind of just was throwing stuff at him to like, it's kind of like a car engine that's not running and you're just trying to figure out what can get it going.
Okay.
I was just throwing ideas at him and he said, this works, this doesn't work, this works, this doesn't work. And then from there, I just kind of like tried stuff until Gerald said, okay. and then we had a story.
All right. So before we start going into issue number 2, what happens in issue number 1?
What happens in issue number 1?
Yes.
Well, we're introduced to, and when I say certain names, these are just their human sort of asleep names. And what I mean by that is we kind of jump into a present modern world where from the first panel, Loki is looking for something in Odin's office, his adopted father, and he kills him in like the 3rd page, and he finds this vial, which we find out is, visually it's telling you it's Lovecraftian in nature. It's an Eldritch sample. We don't know exactly what it is. Loki's language is mysterious, but just by the way he talks, but he's saying in the first few pages exactly what we're setting up for the whole series. And we're introduced to Angus, who is the eldest child of Thor, Odin's grandson, who knows Odin but doesn't know Odin as Odin. He doesn't even know who he is. And Loki awakens his daughter Hel, and they are on a mission that he doesn't tell her about right away. And she's been asleep for God knows how long in an Egyptian. And they are on a rampage. Well, she's on a rampage while he's trying to rein her in because he wants to, kill Odin's grandchildren before they wake up to who they really are, because they're the only ones that can stop them. Why not Thor? Why not all these other characters? Doesn't really matter. Don't have enough issues to really get into all that. And we've seen enough of Thor. I wanted to bring in siblings, bloodlines that were deeper than just what we're sort of seeing in either the MCU or, Walt Simonson's run, stuff like that. Just to do something a little different, some characters that I feel haven't really been fleshed out. Like when you read actually, about Ragnarok in the Prose Edda, you don't really get a lot of information about these children.
Yeah.
So I wanted to take characters that hadn't been fleshed out and flesh them out in this series. And so Angus is sort of the first one that gets killed by Loki. But instead of getting killed, we come into issue 2 to what really happens.
And the children in Norse mythology, the bloodlines, that's something that was always one of my favorite things too, is how many there are, and you actually going through that as well as Eldritch Horror. I've never seen that done before, so this is exciting. When I first saw the first issue, I said, "This is cool. This is unique." We're about to open
actually,
up
Chris,
go ahead.
I think it was the first issue. I mean, I don't know if you remember. You and I used to talk a lot about it, and your interest was very exciting to me. And you had a lot. You actually asked me all these questions just as
I did.
reader. And and I have to say, there were conversations that we had about the Ravens that are going to be fleshed out in the next few issues.
Yeah, it's because Norse mythology and Eldritch Horror are just so cool, and they're so deep, and to be able to take these little pieces and mix them together is awesome. So I was absolutely invested. We're going to go ahead and open the book up, and we're going to start talking about every single page here. Starting first, we're going to talk about the cover itself. Gerald, you drew this cover?
I did.
So when you decided your cover, what were you thinking about that you wanted people to see? Like what here were you trying to tell everyone?
I mean, I probably jumped the gun a little bit on this cover, even though I do like it because you have the 360. And this was my original design. The character on the bottom, on the left, the smaller, that's supposed to be the brother that they are reunited with in issue 3. It's somewhat similar, but it's changed. So those are the 3 grandchildren, and that's the faceless god above. It's sort of like I wanted to make something like, get ready, because issue 1 felt like a slow burn. The cover was very, very stark, very simple, very minimal. So I just wanted to make something a little more dynamic. Though, if I was to do the cover over again, I probably would focus mostly on Keely Thrud, the female character, the sister, because I feel like she's a pretty integral part. She opens up the second issue. So this is, what's the word? Foreshadowing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Frank, did this cover come before you hopped onto the project?
I think so. I mean, when Gerald and I were talking about yesterday, and we're trying to recreate the timeline, because when did I think you kickstarted issue 2 2024.
The cover.
So you would have to have the cover, and I don't think I was brought on until after the Kickstarter. So this was.
Well, Frank knows this. I always do covers before I do interiors.
Yeah,
okay.
And he didn't have the interior scripted. So he's
That's
drawing
fantastic.
He's drawing a cover solely based on vibes, on what he wants.
Just vibes alone. I love that.
Yeah, what he wants the story to be, and then he gets halfway through the script, and he's like, I don't know where to go from here. So the cover is kind of putting the cart before the horse, but it's an amazing cover, and it really, in retrospect, it does work. And Gerald was saying it's changed over time, because it's been 2 years that we're now kind of since the issue came out, and the story is always evolving. But yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, it's a great cover.
Sounds good. Let's move on here. Now, I actually skipped this credits page for someone else prior to recording you guys, and they stopped me. They told me there was secret information in their credits page. Do you guys have anything like that, or is it strictly here's some nice art, here's some people that worked on this with us?
No, this is our credits page.
Hey,
I mean, that's it. That's the
it.
team. Now it's, co-written was in there because Sean French, who's the editor for Immortal Coil, actually he helped write the first few pages of the flashback. And then a friend of mine, John Martin, I wanted to get into the interiors as soon as possible, so he came on to ink the flashback scenes and to change the art a little bit so that it felt a little more Asgardian, I guess you could say.
All right.
But and this was actually the first. Rob Jones was the original letterer, and Rob's a great letterer. But Jerome came in. Jerome's still the letterer, and my friends Francesco and Lorenzo did the variant covers.
And Jerome is on every indie comic I've ever seen.
Yeah. Well,
now,
him or Rob, and they're both great.
Absolutely. I did have, as soon as I opened the book, I was like, okay, so you guys used a full page to write the word "then" with some snow. Tell me about that. Was this just I need to fill pages, or is this I want you to feel the impact of the scene? What's going on here?
I think I was watching a rerun of Law and Order. And I love
deep.
That.
It's very deep.
You know how it has that black screen?
Yeah.
Dum-dum.
Dun-dun. That's what I felt. Yeah.
When you look at this page, it's supposed to make you feel like that. Dum dum.
That's exactly what I felt. So I'm glad that I felt that. I wanted to ask. Though, I was like, I've seen tricks to try and fill a comic book up and make enough. I was like, I wonder if they're doing that, or if this is actually something you wanted.
I mean, maybe like. I'm joking the Law and Order thing, but I did think about that later. Maybe Quentin Tarantino-esque, like Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
Silent movies. I mean, there's so many times in films that you introduce a black card with some text, and I think when it's simple and it's black and white, I just felt like, pay attention.
Okay, fair. Now, Frank, is this how you would do this, or would you argue with Gerald? Can we get a fight going?
I didn't really have a choice. That wasn't my job, I didn't really.
So you would argue. You would argue the way he's answering this.
Yeah, I know, right?
It's not about the thought hasn't even crossed my mind, because issue 2 for me was more of a job rather than a creation process, right? Mm-hmm. Gerald brought me in for a specific purpose. He said, look, I already have these pages. I need to finish the issue. Can you help me finish the issue? So I've never even thought about, like, is this a good idea? Is this a bad idea? It is what it is. And then I have to pick up once it's over.
That's really fair. Yeah, that's a fair answer. Let's move into what is the actual first page. Gerald or Frank, go ahead and let me know what's happening here, what we're trying to do here.
Okay, well, I mean, only because it's this issue, and Frank didn't write this part. So, Sean kind of greased the wheels for me here. Odin is watching Asgard about to fall apart. Ragnarok is coming. And the Rainbow Bridge is breaking, and he decides, and as most people know, in the Prozetta, Ragnarok happens. But as we move to the bottom of the page, he's like, "Fuck that." he's like, no,
we're not going to do that.
Not happen, not here, not today.
So to make sure I understand, this is page 1. The next page would be the page that needs the page turn. Is that right? Or is this the page turn?
Well, you got the cover. The inside covers the credits. Then would be the page turn.
Okay.
Then would be the actual first page. Okay. And then it wouldn't be a page turn, no.
So now we're moving here. Odin's already decided he's not going to let this fall apart. Who's he talking to? What's he saying?
He's talking to Frigga, who is staring at a statue of Balder, who just died, and she is pissed. She is done with Odin. She thinks that he's been playing a game with Loki, not taking it seriously, and that Loki and his children have ruined Asgard, and now they've taken her favorite son away. And he is like, I want to talk to you about how we can maybe fix this. He's got some deeper motivations, which are completely self-centered.
Mhm.
And we find out more about that in the series. And Frank and I have talked a lot about this too. But that's sort of what's happening. She's grieving, she's angry, and he's trying to tell her about, I have a plan, but I need you.
So these, even though I didn't write these pages, I had to read them very carefully. I don't think they were colored yet when I came on. They might have been lettered, but there was definitely a script. And so issue 1, Odin's there for like a split second. Frigga's not even in issue 1. So I really had to read this conversation carefully. And because eventually I'm going to be picking up in the modern times where all these characters, this is all backstory for me.
Yeah.
So I really have to dive into this. Even though I didn't write this, I had to dive into this conversation to really understand the relationship and the dynamic between them. Because once I pick up my part in the present day, all of this is already in place. You know, I can't just forget this and do whatever I want. This is the foundation for which this story takes place. So it's very important to kind of absorb and to know where these characters are coming from. This is their history, you know?
Absolutely. I have a question about that as well, though, because when writing Norse mythology, you're asking the reader to know a lot of Norse mythology, or are you trying to kind of go through the history of that itself as you're explaining to the reader through words? Like, was that a balancing act for you? Was that something you didn't even care about?
No, because I feel that it should read as emotional, whether you know the history or not. You have a grieving, angry mother.
Mhm.
You know, you can understand why. You have this selfish king role aspect. Obviously, he's the god of gods. Well, he thinks so. And you know, so there's a dynamic that doesn't need to be explained. And for I don't want to give so much exposition on Norse mythology. So where it's needed, and if it's not needed because there's the motivations are clear, then you don't need to spend time talking about the history.
I think the cool thing about all these, somebody picks up whatever mythology. It could be Norse mythology, Greek mythology. The framework is in place, right? We kind of know the characters. We know a little bit about the relationship and what happens, but everybody puts their own spin on it, right? Everybody takes their own liberties with how these characters are presented. So I think it's very cool because it's familiar, but it's always fresh. It's always a new story. And this Immortal Coil is no different. I think there are small changes, liberties, and they take you through the story. You don't rely on any foundational knowledge, really. You could have no knowledge and take the story up from scratch, or you can have a familiarity and it kind of enriches the whole experience because you know what these characters are about, at least some version of them.
That's a good answer.
But I'll say this too.
I got tons of them. They're going to keep coming. You don't have to say it after every single one.
Okay,
because it's going to be a given.
But Chris, it's important for me to know because there are Easter eggs throughout. There will be Easter eggs throughout the series.
Oh, of course, yeah.
The relationships are important to me. I have, so I spend a lot of time reading nonfiction books about Norse mythology. And I mean, obviously it's mythology, so it is fiction. But this was real.
I mean, I don't know, man. Aliens, it could have been visitors. Don't just dismiss it right off the bat.
All right.
But
I feel like I need to know, and that helps and Frank and I still, to this day have conversations about the Raven or its importance. We're mashing things together. So we don't want to spend time spelling it out, and I feel like these flashback pages were a way to spell some things out.
That's something I love about Gerald is that when he comes to these projects with such I'm gonna say not baggage, but just like that's the wrong word. But a foundational knowledge of the characters in the world. So when he is spending a full day on a page and the details that he puts into it that have nothing to do with the story whatsoever, that doesn't come from nowhere. These details come from a foundational knowledge and an appreciation of where these characters came from. And
absolutely,
you can dive into them and really tear them apart and understand them and talk about them forever. And they never get mentioned at all through dialogue or what's going on in the story. So I really appreciate the level of complexity and attention to detail that he brings to a lot of these background Easter eggs, as you would call them.
Well, let's see what happens next. We have a lot more exposition happening, and then what happens at the end here?
So, and I had been told by a couple people that that's a lot of words. So if you don't want to read,
this is the most words I saw, I think,
and it'll be probably the most words you'll ever see. But you have to understand when I was writing Immortal Coil from the beginning, and when I still think about it, I think Frank helps temper some of my unbridled enthusiasm to make sure that, like, hey, well, people are going to read this too. I also spent 20 years. I spent 20 years in theater, so and I went to school as a playwright, so it's all very dialogue heavy, and I wanted a dialogue heavy scene. I knew there wasn't going to be many, and I wanted to make a page where you had to read it. That's
sure.
All.
Yeah, stand by that. Yeah.
I love to draw, and I want it to be visually appealing, but I just wanted a page that felt like I want to read a little bit. And this is probably the most expositional setup.
Now, for this though, I mean, you look at the last page. She's upset over the son dying, and then you look at this page, and the very end it says "Bring me to Loki," and it feels like I can immediately understand where this page is going. Right? Like there's the argument. There's just I'm going to kill this man. Is that right?
Well, she's telling him, like, what is your plan? He's telling her the plan. She's like, she understands that he's manipulating her grief, but she's going to do it anyway because she's that pissed. She's so hurt and distraught. And if he's not going to do anything about Loki, she will. And he's okay with it now because there's something in it for Odin. There's something in it for him. This isn't just some selfless thing to save his family. And they have Mjolnir in front of him, and they have to release the power that was put into it. But he needs her lineage because they come from two different aspects of Asgard, of that world. Well, she's not from it. From these different realms, so they have different god magic. So there's a lot of sacrifice happening in this page. Destroying Mjolnir was kind of like taking away Thor from the story for me. I don't want to
completely. Yeah,
you're never going to see him, so who cares about Mjolnir? And
I like that answer because I didn't even realize that's exactly what it does. It just completely cuts that character. If you don't have the hammer, you don't have Thor for the most part.
I mean, you could. I mean,
you could.
Before Frank came on, I have a whole story about Thor working on a farm. He's not the big muscle. Whatever. It's not going to happen. It's really stupid. It was very Kingdom Come aspect, like Superman when he's working on, with the overalls. But yeah, so pretty much they destroy Mjolnir. She's agreed to the plan. He hasn't told her everything. He's calling upon, the original Asgardian gods. He's calling upon her lineage power. And she's like super goddess now. She's got more power than she knows what to do with. And he needs her to be that channel to basically take their family as Asgard gets, ripped apart and all the other realms get destroyed to set up camp in the Earth realm. But they have to get rid of Loki and his siblings first because they're not invited to the party.
Let's see what happens here. We have who is this at the end?
The last panel?
Yeah, the last two panels. What's happening here?
So that's Frigga standing at the face of the cave where Loki has been tied to a rock with the entrails of his son, and that's his wife who's trying. There's a huge venomous serpent above him, dripping acid into his face. Now that's taken straight from the mythology.
Absolutely.
Sigyn is his wife, who would take a bowl to capture the poison, dump it, but she would miss some of it. So Loki's lost his hair. He's losing parts of his skin. He could be blind. And Frigga's like, "You can go now. I don't blame you. You've done more than any woman should ever have to do." And Loki's just sort of laughing at Frigga, like, "Are you happy now? Like, he thinks that this is it. This is just, he'll just wait this out hundreds of years and he'll plan something new." And she's there to say, "Yeah, screw that. You don't know what's coming. You don't know what's coming."
Now, Frank, is there a better way to torture Loki if you were to have written this page, or would you have left it the same?
That's a trap question that I'm not going to answer.
I thought I'd try.
No, I mean, I had a comics instructor, teacher, mentor back in the day, and he used to run a forum where he would allow people to submit scripts, and he would tear them apart and just brutally honest what he thought about it. And I appreciated that. And he had a rule, and it was like, I never critique scripts that are already a completed comic book, right? Because once you make the book, it's over. The script is irrelevant. The comic exists in the real world, and it's kind of the same thing. I mean, I'm not going to reinvent a page that already exists. And I mean, Loki looks great there. The cave looks great. So I'm not going to talk about how I would adjust it. They decided to go with the Greek mythology, and that's what it is. The Norse mythology, and that's what it is.
Absolutely fair. I agree with the Norse mythology choice. I think that's fantastic. It's one of my favorite stories of that. And now we have a full splash page.
So yeah, there's a lot going on here. Some of it, if you've ever seen the pencil pages, which I have in what's called the Valhalla edition, you can see some of it more clearly. Some of the colors gets a little washed. You have Frigga is just, this is it. This is the beginning of this is Odin's big plan that, Loki and his children, the serpent and the wolf, they're getting banished. God knows where. Not even Odin knows where they'll go, or if they'll be. They're gods. They're immortal, so they're probably not going to die. Their realms are being destroyed. On the left side, there's it's hard to see here, but that's actually the army of the undead that is approaching, and everyone's just sort of like, what's going on? Because nobody knows outside of Odin and his family what's happening here.
Working with Gerald, these are the pages that he excels at, when he could just kind of free form, draw something without rigid structure. It's just kind of emotion and feelings and story on a page all at once, just kind of growing, So I love creating these moments for Gerald to kind of just do his thing.
Yeah, no, these are kind of the pages when Gerald first started, and I see this stuff, I go, oh gosh, I want to know more about this person who's making this. They're a ton of fun, and I think the next two pages that we go over, oh no, it's the page after this. This one I forgot about. Now we have green happening coming up from these people. Is that right?
Because they are leaving Asgard. It's done. Asgard's done.
Asgard's done.
It's gone. They know that it's going to be gone anyway, that this is Odin's backdoor plan. He does let Hel go there in the third panel, but he says, if I ever see you again, I don't want to give too much away. Frank knows. That third panel is foreshadowing big time. I'll just say that much. Frank knows. I'm not saying what it is, but the third panel is important. Super important what he says to her. Huge.
What's he say? Can you go ahead and read that for me?
Well, he's talking to her, in the second panel through the captions, and then she says to him, "You truly are a wicked one, and you dare to cast judgment upon me." And he says, "Bah, save your words. If I see you again, you shall face an unforgiving God. As long as I breathe, you will know your place." And she says, "We'll see." So, just foreshadowing. Shall they meet again? Perhaps.
All right, fair.
Will he be an unforgiving God? Is he as powerful as he thinks he is?
That's one of the cool things that I was talking about when I wanted to know the backstory and the history to these characters, because when you deal with mythology, especially Norse mythology, these are drama queens,
Oh, 100%.
They're such prissy little drama queens. So it's a lot of fun to be able to play with that.
So in the first panel, those are our main characters. Those are the children of Thor. And Angus is the one on the right. Obviously, Kaylee's in the middle, and Tejas is on the left.
And they're not going to remember any of this. Odin's the only one who's going to remember
They
this.
do not. Only Odin, Frigga, Hel, they remember. Thor and Sif are there, the parents of these children. They will not remember.
Okay, that's interesting. And let's see here. These are the pages. I remember these next two pages because this is Loki in like an Oblivion area, right?
Yeah, Asgard is just destroyed. That realm is now gone, and he is sent flying to God knows where.
So let's talk about the actual paneling here. Let's talk about your decision making on the art itself. What did you want to represent by having the two panels of his face and then having a full body?
I thought it was I thought it was cool, but I thought that it was supposed to be an effect.
Yeah.
Effect that it wasn't just like and done. It was like pulling out.
Yeah, pulling out.
So this is taking time. It's not like he's just like a meteor in a gravitational pull. I mean, it's sort of like we're pulling out to see, like we saw Loki. Is he screaming in the cave? Then we kind of see maybe not. Oh no, this is totally different.
Mm-hmm.
This is something else.
Absolutely. And this is the new torture for him. You just assume he's going to be floating here for ever and always. But then this page happened.
Yes. So he lands in the dreaming. Perhaps mistakenly, perhaps accidentally, perhaps he was called there. There's got to be some mystery to that. Even I don't know that answer, I'll be honest with you. But obviously to push the story along, this is the page where Norse mythology meets Eldritch horror.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Frank.
No, these are the moments that make this series so great, is that there's so much fill in the blank, right? That if we wanted to, we could just fill in the blanks forever and tell this story forever. And there's just so much to the backstory of these characters that it feels like a Norse poem, like an epic. And this is exactly why, because you could tell how long was Loki trapped in there. You got a span of time to tell so many different stories to fill in his history. Obviously, this is the main story. This is the main book. We're going to hit certain beats to keep things going. But if we wanted to, we could do another 5 issues just on this one page,
No, I love that. And like you said, I mean, when a panel stops and there's no words, it's up to the reader to decide the length of time that we're talking about. You have that breath. The bottom panel here is one of my absolute favorite panels. I always love these sort of things, not for any weird, freaky reasons, but this is just a great image. Anything you want to say? Go ahead.
Guilherme colored this page beautifully.
Oh, it's good. It's solid. Anything you want to say about the background of the 3 long panels?
Again, playing with time, playing with you know, some of it just visually appealing to me. I like that the first panel is sort of like this calm water like thing, and I didn't just want one. They could have just drawn one panel of Loki falling in water, right?
Mhm.
I've never noticed that splash until now. That's very subtle. It's very nice.
Yeah, that's what I was liking too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Jerome did really great with that, and no, it's just a play with time. Like you're having this moment of, well, obviously there's a caption there, and then splash, and now there's this floating aimlessly, and these two meeting. The faceless god is the voice. You
Mhm.
find that out towards the end of the issue. This is an important scene. This we could have just opened the whole
Read it
thing
later.
and left it at that, because these two meeting is why there is a series. Why is there Immortal Coil? You know, there's many different levels, but this is where these two meet, and without them meeting, there's no Ragnarok on Earth.
Yeah. No. Absolutely agree. And this is the type of stuff that makes me go, "Oh, Immortal Coil is unique and different." Now we have another splash page that says now.
Dum
Dun dun.
Dum
You
dum.
beat me to it.
All right, so we understand that. And this is where Frank comes in next. Is that right, Frank?
Yes.
Let's see how you decided. You said you need to get the engine running. We need to get something started. How do we move the story forward? You take us to school.
So our first issue was about Angus, right? Angus is being hunted by Hel and Loki, but he's not the only one. There are two other siblings that are involved, and we start our present day timeline going after Keeley, who is the second sibling.
Mhm.
And Gerald's like, I know we need to bring in Keeley. I have no idea how to do it. We need some sort of scene to introduce her. We need to give her a present day life, right? Angus is a musician, and I'm thinking, Gerald, like, he just kind of gave me the floor to say, what do you want to do with her? And I threw out a bunch of ideas, and one idea I had was to make her a professor of Norse history. Norse mythology. It might be, I forget exactly what it is, but she is drawn to this subject matter subconsciously, you know. So she's a university professor and she talks about it. And I don't know why I feel like university is always a great setting for like any type of kind of story you want to tell. It's great for comedy, it's great for horror, it's great for action. So I knew that if Loki's going to be approaching her and attacking her, that this is a good place for them just to kind of go wild.
Yeah. And then you could argue, some people could argue, you know, it's on the nose to be like, well, you're a professor of Norse mythology, but the idea of being called to it also, I mean, it changes everything. You're like, oh no, that's exactly how you would feel subconsciously.
Well,
I mean,
I think it would be too on the nose if she knew what she was doing.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's also a great contrast because Keeley is, when you think of when she awakens and becomes her true self, she is not a professor. You know, it's a complete contrast from the person she really is. So even though she's kind of drawn to this subconsciously and she gravitates towards it, her personality to manifest that is completely at odds with her true self. Okay. So it's a very cool dynamic that when she finally comes to, you'll see that this is not the same person who was teaching Norse mythology in a university setting.
And let's see here what happens after class. So
now we'll just say really quick, if anybody has seen Volume 1, we know we felt that we had jumped a little bit of story that we could have developed a little more. So there is actually an extra page that goes here, and in the new updated issue 2 that will be in there. So there's like a few pages, but it's just Loki and her talking a little bit more, and
it develops the relationship a little bit.
And we introduce the Raven back in it, because the Raven appears to every sibling sort of at this kind of moment.
Okay, so that goes in with how the book is constantly evolving, how the story is constantly evolving. You guys
Yeah.
realized, hey, we need an extra page. We have a little bit more relationship dynamic that happens prior to this in the volume. But let's go into what's happening right now on the page. I was just in class, and now everyone is dead.
Yeah, so you got to remember Loki has a partner. He's not working alone. So when he approaches her and she runs away, he's like, "You have no idea what you're walking into," because hell is having a good time. You know, last issue we saw her at a concert. She's been cooped up. She's got cabin fever for a long time, and now you just let her run loose on Earth. She's just killing everybody she comes across. So this is what Keely finds when she runs away from Loki. And I love setting Gerald up to kill people. It is a lot of fun. I think he has a good time doing it.
Yeah.
So splash pages and killing people, that is Gerald's specialty. Which killing people we have this was confusing for me towards the end because she's dead here. Is that right?
Is she?
Exactly. That was the
Listen, I'll just say this, and Frank and I have a lot of conversations about. Look, one of the things that issue 1 set up, and we're always mindful of it, is that if we tell everything, then there's no series.
Yeah.
You just got to keep reading. Like, it's not like Lost where it's just randomness, figuring it out. No. We have notes. We know how the story's going to end. Sometimes there's an inspiration to maybe give a little bit. Like, oh, this is why. And we talk about it. So, Loki believes that he's killing them, sending them to wherever, so that he can enact Ragnarok on Earth. But part of this, anybody who's read the series, is he's not killing them. He's awakening them. But we're not going to answer whether he knows that or he doesn't.
That's good. Okay, that helps me a lot more now.
I think giving the reader a lot of slack to fill in the blanks on their own, to string them along, to giving them credit that they're smarter and you don't have to lay everything out for them. I think there's a lot of power in that. And as a writer, you don't need to answer questions. It's on the page. If you don't have your answer, then keep going. And if by the end you still have questions, then it is what it is. But I feel strongly that we designed this story and these pages in a way that keep you turning.
I appreciate you thinking I'm smarter than I am. That was the nicest thing you've ever said to me. I am going to ask you, Frank, because you wrote this page, right?
I did, yes.
Tell me about the glasses breaking and she's crawling around like Velma. What happened here? What was your decision-making process?
I don't remember. You know what? You write a lot of stuff, and honestly, Gerald has full autonomy to do what he wants with the script.
Yeah.
So I can't remember if I wrote that.
Hey, well, I'll tell you this. When Frank wrote it, he didn't make the glasses such a big thing.
Okay.
So when I started drawing or laying out, I thought, I'm going to make the glasses big and cracked because, as he just said, who she's been pretending to be is about to be gone. This is who she is.
Yeah. Okay.
It's a great
costume.
It's a great collaborative process because I write the script and Gerald is a storyteller himself. So he can, when he does the art, if he wants to expand upon the story and highlight certain areas, go for it, man. I'm not going to hold him back and stop him from doing that stuff.
Absolutely. And we do have the knife scene. I like when there's two panels that don't really move, but there's like one small thing, the knife going in, I was like, oh, I can feel that. That's a movie feeling. And it goes into the eyes, the awakening spot. Who is this?
Well, that's Angus from
issue 1.
We left issue 1 with him bleeding out in a subway from a knife.
Oh, I see it now. Now that I'm talking about it, I understand. She's awakening, but we have him awakening from issue 1.
Yeah.
So in that moment, they're connected.
Yeah.
Yes.
That makes more sense.
From her eyes to his eyes.
Who are we meeting?
Well, some people don't know this. I know this. That's Heimdall.
Okay.
So Odin was so kind that he didn't leave her alone. You're going to meet Frigga in a second, but that's Heimdall, who's now acting as the ferryman of the underworld.
Okay. Let me see here. Do you have anything to say on this page, Frank, before we move on?
No, I think I had a lot more dialogue. I think Gerald curtailed it a little bit, pulled it back.
I am with Gerald on this one because this page is so I like the ferryman is always my favorite thing to see in shows, and I love how just quiet it really feels. So this was one of my other favorite pages I saw. So this is just good art. But here we could have a little bit more dialogue. What's going on here, guys?
Take my dog for a walk. Bye.
Thank you.
I like that. That's a good song.
Well, Heimdall's taking him to see his grandmother. And he's sort of, this is like, he's in the underworld now. I mean, he's starting to transition from who am I? Who are you talking about? And he says in there, my grandmother, and he's like, wait, I don't remember. So he's starting to lose his humanity, and he's waking up very, very slowly. And it's very confusing. And this may be a real house or a real river, and it may not be. I don't know. And he takes him to a door that actually has a rune symbol on there.
So I'm gonna ask one question about the art itself. I don't know. Is this called page gutters when the outside of the art is just more art? What is that called that you're doing there? It's like a full piece.
It's not technically gutters because they're part of the background.
It's just a full bleed because it depends if that theme it is setting up the environment for the other panels. If it's not, then it's no point in doing it.
Okay.
But this is where you are. This is the environment. So instead of making a splash pages, other things need to happen. At least using what that environment is in the beginning to establish the mood. This is where you are.
Panel gutters are a lot more formal pages, formal panels, and you have spaces in between them. That would be technically considered a gutter and a panel. But since it's a full bleed, it doesn't really. It's all art.
Okay, I've noticed a few of them in the book so far. There's a lot of just set pieces of those. Here's the full art. There's no white. It's just all colors.
It's because Gerald loves to just make a full page of art.
Absolutely.
He loves to really give it his all. What are you crazy?
Wait, when you can, Frank, what did you want to convey in this page when you were writing it? Do you remember?
This is a tricky scene because
Oh, Frank has muted himself.
He muted himself, yeah. Or the dog did.
He didn't want to convey anything he said.
No, you need to do a lot in a small period of time, right? So he just wakes up there. We need to get him to Frigga's house. He needs to get there somehow while he needs to kind of comprehend where he is, why he's there, and awaken at the same time. So there's a lot going on.
That's not like 2 pages you're trying to do that, right?
Yeah. So
Crazy.
that's why I had more dialogue. I tried to do snippets of it here and there, and Gerald wanted to give it a more subtle approach that we're not going to lay everything out. But the story needs to be moved along. We need Angus to wake up, so we can get back to the world and to save people and to see Loki's plot. So it's basically we're just moving things along here.
Okay. All right. And let's meet. Oh, that's not Grandma. Never mind. He's opened the door and he's drowning.
I don't know. Is he?
We could do this all day.
Answer can't be that.
We could do this all day. So the point is he enters her cabin and
not yet. He's going towards the doorknob.
He's always going towards the door.
And remember, we are in the underworld. So is he imagining these things? Is this really happening?
Okay.
Are these, is it water? I don't know. There's a lot of fluidity to interpretation, but the main thing was I felt I just wanted to see a moment where he was being pulled into the abyss to not go forward to
To stay asleep, to die, I assume.
Sure.
I love Gerald's answers are just the most mysterious old man. Like just like, no, who knows? Who knows? You decide. You decide. This is for you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Gerald.
You're dealing with God's awakening in the underworld
yeah.
that used to be human. It's just it could be whatever you interpret it to be in that moment. But
Okay.
we'll move things along. We'll get them going.
Let's see. Now we meet Grandma, and this is another one of those that felt real fast. You're talking about the two pages to tell all the story between him and the ferryman.
Well, you'll also in volume 1 we got to go back, and in the updated issue 2, on the standalone single issue, there's more pages to this.
Okay. There's 2 more pages for this one beforehand, or
for this scene. There's 2 more pages.
What did you try to do in those 2 pages, if you can tell that?
Well, Frank and I went back and we talked about this scene. We haven't seen Frigga yet. She is important, but it's also, one of the things we do in Immortal Coil is not to just go forward and leave anything that we've done just behind so it was random. I think we both agree and try to collaborate on how things connect. And the one way you can do that in a comic is bring back, a panel that, and we do that in issue 3. Frank, I think, masterfully did that in the beginning of issue 3, was to always bring people back to that moment. Remember that moment? And if they don't remember it, you have to go back and read that issue. Then when you come back to this issue, like, oh, right, okay, well, that makes sense now. I just forgot.
I love that.
So when we did the new pages, it was just to expand the scene with Frigga, because we couldn't do it with Keeley and the third brother. Let's do it with one at least, so we get a little more depth to this transformation.
Now, before those 2 pages and before all that, Frank, you had a bit of a challenge to jump through this scene, or was this simple for you?
No, I mean, it's tricky. How do you get Angus to wake up, right? Frigga knows, but she's been in the underworld a very long time. She's not warm and fuzzy. I mean, she loves her family, but she's kind of irritated. She's pissed, as you can see by the end of the page. And I had to convey this relationship. I tried to do it quickly in 1 page, and I think it deserved more time, which is why we fleshed it out.
You gave it more time,
when we
yeah.
went back.
Okay. That was, again, this was one that when I first started, I was like, okay, well, that was a jump for me. And then Gerald mentioned the extra pages
but this
prior.
was also one of those scenes that this might be only one out of like 2 scenes in this issue where, I iterated to Frank. This was an important one that was always going to be in there, and I just wanted it to be in there again. Where I love this idea that she is basically disguised herself as Grandma Bacon Muffins to try to put him at ease. I always saw that in my head, but really, she's like Frank just said, she's pretty pissed. She's pretty angry immortal who's keeping back the siblings of hell so they don't reign the apocalypse on Earth.
Yeah, the same woman you saw in the flashback that said, "Bring me Loki," that's her. She's still the same person. It's just been a very long time.
I want to make a note on that first panel, the art with the grandmother's face. It reminds me of the It movies, the old grandma with the teeth. And it's just like that perfect amount of like menace, but also sweets. Where I was like, okay.
She's not happy.
No, let's move on, and we'll see what happens next. We have a black panel. We have him waking up, I believe, in the real world. And then all the powers start. Everything just happens.
Yeah, this is a little bit of a callback to issue 1, where issue 1 ended.
Oh, it
Yeah,
is.
that's where
It
he died in
is.
the subway.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I love the black panel. I love the eye scene here. I think that's a nifty little trick. Um, anything to say about this one? Is this strictly just awake? Nothing else needed to be done when you wrote it?
I mean, it's him waking up. It's him, but he's waking up, but at the same time, he needs to kind of get his bearings as to where he is and what he's going to do. And so he stumbles out of the subway from where he woke up. And I love the setup for the next page is really what I love about this page. What comes next? Because when he's just waking up, he's concussed. He kind of doesn't know what he is. He's got he's realizing who he is, but he has to, the merger between who he was and who he is kind of, it's still happening in this moment. You could kind of see he's a little out of it. So when he exits the subway, we get to a little bit more of a firm footing as to where this adventure is going to go.
And before I click there, he says, "I'm sorry." He's a good guy. The shades of gray. What kind of character?
I mean, he just zapped these paramedics to like yesterday, so he's like he's not in control of this. And there's a little bit of that in issue 3 too. I think. Whatever, I don't care if we're giving something away. Angus really is the main character of the story, but he doesn't know that.
Okay.
And part of I think issue 3 begins him having to reluctantly take responsibility for who he really, really, truly is to the story. To the story, not just like who he is independently, but how important he is. So he's pretty powerful too. And Frank talked about Keely going through that. When she wakes up, she's not a professor. Now, when he was human, he was cocky, egotistical musician type. So his transformation is almost backwards. Like he's feeling the weight that he did something wrong. You know, how did he not see this? So that's keeping him from really being as powerful. So this is a moment where he's like, oh shit, I'm sorry. I don't even know what's happening. I just fucking fried you people.
That's great. Let's see what the payoff is on the next page. Bam.
Yeah, so there's Keely. She's awake. And she asks him, are you awake? And he's like, yep.
This is a very strong page. When it comes to these sort of splash type pages, Frank, do you put a lot of thought into it, or were you just, this is a crucial moment, I want to give it the whole scene? What was your thought here for writing this?
I think I wrote this page completely differently.
I think Frank did, and I think that I tried it a few different ways. I think I always try to do what Frank has written in the script first. Let's be clear. I always do.
Okay.
And could be just who I am as an artist, not so much like, oh no, I don't like what Frank did. Maybe it wasn't working, because sometimes, when you write a script as great as it is, sometimes it's not until you start making the visuals, maybe there's another way to say what Frank was trying to say on the page. So that's always, and Frank and I talked about that last night. I read what Frank is trying to say in the page. That's like the consistent part, even if maybe I change a panel or two.
Okay. And then Keely being awake, you guys made me wait till the end before I got the answer. Thank you guys for that. Anything else on this page before we move on to the next one?
I just love this moment because they've had their own separate journeys. We didn't see Keely's. Again, that's a fill in the blank. We could kind of like go back maybe and explore at some point. But we saw Angus's journey of waking up. So it's this cool moment where they are strangers, right? They both get attacked. They both have their own journeys of awakening. And now they're coming together as siblings that have a history. They know who they are and they're awake. And they're both like, hey, what's up, sis? What's up, bro? let's go do what we need to do. You know.
Yo, let's get a brew.
I told you I told you I wasn't gonna say when it was a good answer, but that was really like I felt it when you said it, and I was looking at the page and I was like, oh, he's right. Like this is solid.
They don't need to say a lot, you know. You
Yeah.
don't need to. I think if you have a lot of exposition on this page, it's going to ruin the moment because they're brother and sister with so much history that they're just like when you see an old brother or sister or friend that there's an unspoken bond here. So like when she says, "Let's go get our brother," they both know who they're talking about. They both know why they need to go get him, and we might not know as the reader, but these characters, there's a connection between them, and I you could feel that with just 2 panels, you know, few words.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. Now we are on Mount Kalash. How do I pronounce this?
Well, I'm not 100% sure, but Kalish. I call it Mount Kalish.
Okay. Cool. We're on the mountain. We have Loki, and this is Hell, correct?
There's also a reason Mount Kalish in Tibet, in the real world, is considered one of the most energetically holy places in the world.
Mm-hmm.
There's they believe there's like a certain frequency in this exact location that is like connected to the heavens. So I love that idea that we're connected to another dimension, not heaven.
Is that a different jacket that Loki is wearing? Did he like?
Oh yeah, he changed because it's
He
cold.
changed. He's got to change, but he still has the mask and the horns. So he's like, I got to get my winter drip on. You know, he's like, I love it. But that's Loki. You know,
that's Loki. Loki's a fashionista. We are like you mentioned the holy place, the energy. So there is something important for this mountain. They are going into a portal, I believe.
Yeah.
And what's the dialogue saying here? What are they discussing happening?
Well, she's like, what do you need me here for? She's not fully clear. And again, Frank knows this. And in issue 3, there's more of that. All the rest of the issues where she always feels that she's being left out of these patriarchal, masculine delusions of grandeur. And she's the queen of the dead. She's kind of sick of this shit. She doesn't even know what part she's really playing in this. And this ties into why Loki took that vial in the first page of Immortal Coil issue number 1. He had to bring it here. This is a hidden temple of the cult of the faceless god. It's basically a kind of fracture in realms, nothing too crazy, and it's guarded by night demons, which you'll find out in the next page. So he's pretty much telling her, I do need you, and you'll see why. Because you don't know this yet. I'm going to say it now because we don't really go into it in the rest of the series. But when I wrote this, the reason why Hell is buried in Egypt is because that is where Nyarlathotep, the faceless god, was considered the Black Pharaoh in Lovecraftian lore. So I have a whole backstory where they knew each other, that the faceless god and Hell were lovers once upon a time. And he basically made a dash for it, and she was buried in the rubbles of this ruin. So they have a history.
There's so much, again, from the Norse mythology to the real life history stories, and then all the Eldritch. This is crazy, just how much is getting mixed in together.
When I tell people this could easily be a 50-issue series, I'm not exaggerating. Like we could really.
We really could.
Yeah, as he's talking about like the prior relationship, I'm like, oh, I could read a whole comic about that too. This is crazy.
We might do one shots. We'll see. We got to finish this story arc, but there's a lot of reasons why they're here. It's not arbitrary. Location, what it is they're doing, and he's like, I do need you. I do need you. You're here for a reason.
And let's move on to, you said the 9 demons, is that right?
No, night demons. So this
Night's
is kind of
demons.
the hallway between Earth and the Dreaming.
Okay. What, I guess this might be your own mythology, or do they come from a certain type of mythology?
The night demons are Lovecraftian.
Okay, they're Lovecraftian.
Yeah.
What's happening here? Strictly a fight scene?
Well, he's there to do something. She's basically like,
Running
go
interference.
go do the ritual. I'll take care of this.
Okay. Any other details here? This is really light on words this time.
Well, there wasn't much to say.
Let's just go do this. All right, so we get the fight, we go through that, and we are in the ritual now.
Yeah, and again, I probably haven't even talked to Frank about this too much because we haven't fully drawn out the trapezohedron, which becomes a very integral part of the story. But that is sort of a model of it in the first panel. And the vial in the second panel is the vial from the last panel on page 1 of issue number 1.
Quick question: how many sides does the trapezohedron have?
I have no idea.
Okay, that's great.
I'm not sure it's named after how many sides. I think it's just was one of those Lovecraft things, you know. So like, let's just call it that.
So you said that Frank doesn't have. He might not know some of the information.
Well,
Frank,
he knows
you wrote
what
this
the
page.
trapezohedron is, but we haven't drawn it out.
Oh,
yet.
okay.
This is one of those attention to details that I talked about earlier with Gerald. Well, where I'll write the page and he'll realize, oh, I could fit this in here, and he'll just do it. I mean, he doesn't have to tell me he's doing it. So
Okay.
he doesn't have to
All
run
right.
it by me.
All right. Ritual looks like it's going to be a success. He pours the vial in. Let's see what
And
happens
there's one
here.
more part. This is the last part of the ritual. And this was actually, I think, the beginning of mine and Frank's true collaboration, because I saw the scene as one way and Frank saw it another way. But it worked knowing it's Frank's way. It took me a minute.
I don't think that's how it went down. I think I misheard Gerald, and that became my way. And then he was like, I don't think it was like, okay. But either way, I like it. I think.
Well, and I'm glad Frank misheard me, because it made more sense. Why is Loki gonna jump in this pit now? Why is he doing that?
Tell me the different ways. Let me know what happened on this page.
So my original thing was that, yes, he had to sacrifice himself. No, and again, I didn't have a real big story to it, but Frank obviously misheard me and thought that the faceless god needed a body. And I thought about it for a minute and thought, well, Christ, that makes way more sense. We're going with that.
Okay.
And I think that this scene and that part of the story was the beginning of, say, why issue 3 feels we're hitting our stride. Where
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Where we're really developing the story, whether the page is exactly panel for panel, script page for script page, the story is me and Frank, like 100%. There's like nothing happening without us talking to each other.
Yeah, there's a certain poetic justice to this, the way this dramatist plays out, you know, because Loki sacrifices himself so that the Faceless God can exist, and at the same time, the Faceless God is lovers with Hel, so it becomes this weird incestuous kind of relationship that just, it really elevates it and brings it to the next level in the vein of Norse mythology.
I'm just going to say it reminds me of Game of Thrones for the incest, but it also reminds me of Harry Potter for needing a Voldemort vessel. So that's throwing that out there. We've mixed those two together now.
Yes.
Page is fantastic. I do love this page. I love the way that Hel looks at him, because there's no sympathy here. This is just, okay, you're dead. Like,
well,
this is crazy.
Why I love Hel as a character is she's not human. Doesn't pretend to be. Doesn't give a shit. There's no human to her.
I missed the prior page. I actually wanted to point out she says something along, or he says something sweet or something, you know, talking about whatever, missing her. I can't remember the exact words, but she's like, "Why are you saying that?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, okay."
Yeah, sentiment doesn't suit you.
Yeah, it doesn't suit you. Yeah, and I was like, that was a good line. I was a big fan of that one.
No,
Let's
she's
see.
great. She definitely has a nice journey throughout the story.
Do you enjoy writing for Hell, Frank? Or
I enjoy all these characters because
okay,
they are so distinct and they have such egos. I think the immortality aspect of their place in mythology and their place in history, they know it. They're big deals and they know they're big deals. So when they start clashing and interacting with each other, you get to allow those egos to play out. And but the egos are huge, but at the same time they're also weirdly vulnerable, like they're so flawed.
yeah.
So I love that broken nature of these humongous characters, larger than life characters. It's
I think
very fun
Frank
to play
likes
with.
writing the Faceless God the most.
Oh,
Which we don't get to see until issue 3, so I'm not going to get to talk too much.
No, you see him. You see him next page.
Next page, yeah, but to actually get to see him written and see.
Yes.
But when it comes to each of these characters, I think it would be, personally, it feels like it would be easier to have two people like you two to be able to just kind of slip into those characters' mindsets and go, well, I would say this if I'm him, and then get to bounce that off. Is that something that you guys do in writing, or is it just you sit by yourselves and say, this is what they said?
Well, I think it's easier now when it's characters that were not introduced. So, like, say it comes to Loki.
Mm-hmm.
Unfortunately, I have a very clear way of how he was the first character I created, was designing in this story. So I have a very clear idea of how I feel he talks and sort of kind of behaves that I might not budge on.
Okay.
It's just because I feel it's just
you are Loki. You embody that.
I had more time with him. Hell,
yeah,
a little bit. Faceless God, I think, is a character that really shines in issue 3, and Frank had a lot more fun with, and a lot more blank canvas.
I inherently love characters like the Faceless God. I mean, we haven't seen him yet, but he's one of these characters. I'm bad and I know it, and I love it.
Okay.
So
yeah,
it's just,
yeah.
you really get into it. He's like a Joker character. I mean, you could see that in the cover. He's got that smile. He will rip the flesh off your face and just laugh while doing it, and it's a lot of fun to write. I think my favorite character to write for is Tejas, because he's silent and he doesn't talk, so Gerald doesn't have a chance to change his dialogue. but he does communicate. He communicates with what he does. He communicates with his actions. So writing for him, just all these subtle nuances that he does, the way he positions himself in the background, the way he'll interject himself physically, not with words. It's very cool to see the place that he has in the story without just verbalizing it.
That sounds like a fun writing challenge to conceptualize in my mind. I'm like, I don't know how I'd do that first. I'd have to think about it. Let's see our last page. This is the last page, right?
Yeah.
Yes. What happens here? Tell me about this.
Well, here he is. Loki sacrificed himself. The first panel, the environment, the sort of full bleed, full art, I wanted to leave it up a little bit of interpretation, keep it somewhat cosmic. There's an object involved. It's based on the thing that was floating above the ground, which could have been like a plug, like a cosmic plug on the dreaming, and now it's gone. It's broken. It's
That's
done.
interesting. Yeah.
There's nothing. The bottle is open. The genie is out. And there he is. And Hell was, wearing that coat the whole time to put on him.
That's very sweet. How did she know he was coming exactly? You mentioned earlier that she didn't really understand her place. Did she expect 3 people?
He doesn't understand, they had a lot of time together. I'm sure Loki told her was pretty much going down. Yeah. Without us having to say it.
Yeah.
She knew he was coming back. When she says, I don't know my place in this, it's like, you could have done this without me. Right. I could be doing tons of other things, but you want me here. And he's like, yeah, so you're going to listen to me because I'm your dad. And then once he's gone, it's kind of like the boyfriend, the girlfriend, Thelma and Bonnie and Clyde get to unleash apocalypse on Earth. So that's what issue 3 is. It's them going on their little murderous road trip.
Okay, fantastic. Thum, by the way, this the way that's lettered, that was one of my favorite panels in the entire book because it's just so cool. Everything about that. And then we go into the incestuous.
It's not incestuous.
It's
Well,
not.
when Frank, okay,
His face is different, but is he different? I don't want to go too deep into it, but
it's
open to interpretation, and my interpretation is incest.
it's not her father, but it is
Okay.
his father.
it is his father.
That's why I love this story. That's why I love this story so much.
Look, that was one of the reasons why I was like, when Frank misheard me, I was like, nah, we can't do that. I was like, wait a second, this is Immortal Coil. Who gives a shit? Let's make it disgusting. These two aren't supposed to be like, you're not even supposed to be rooting for them. You want to be disgusted by everything that they do. I mean, there's a sex scene of them in issue 3 that's just horrifying.
And that's the selling point for issue 3, everyone. Back that comic if you want to see more of this. Well, that was fantastic, guys. I really appreciate that. I have one last question for both of you, because this was a weird project for you both to end up doing together, and there were a couple of scenes where Frank would write something, you would change it. When it comes to a collaborative project like this, do you guys have any tips or information for people who try to do it as co-writers?
Well, I would say Frank would probably agree. If you really want to truly collaborate, you gotta with something you've already started. It's going to be like this. It's going to take a little time, for the other to catch up, to introduce new ideas, to get to know each other. Start from scratch. Do a whole new IP. Frank and I have other projects where I just draw and I give my feedback. I talk about the story, but I'm not there to write the script. Frank is. Frank is there to write the dialogue. Those are completely from the ground up. When you bring someone in on a project that you already feel pretty foundational with, it's a little trickier. It's a little harder. But I think midway, Frank and I, we kind of found our collaborative process with this project. Now, we have other projects where it's true collaboration. Frank is the writer, I'm the artist, and we're both developing the story. And that's it. Just like you would in any other collaboration. But we do work more closely together than just writer, just artist. Frank and I think have been talking about this a lot lately. He's taught me a lot how to think structurally, and he has shared that I have helped him think visually. Did that make any sense?
Yeah.
I think for Immortal Coil is weird because it was such a work in progress. It was like there was a house that was halfway built, and Gerald said, I need you to finish the other half. But that was just issue 2. Issue 3 is comes something completely different. So it's not just about like the series as a whole. It's like each issue is a new way we had to relearn how to collaborate. And if I were to give advice to people that are working together, and it's a true collaboration, it's not just like I'm the writer, I'm hiring an artist. You got to leave your ego at the door, and you got to leave your emotions at the door. If Gerald says, I don't like this, I can't be so tied to it that I get hurt by what he said or offended. At the end of the day, Gerald just wants to make the best issue and story possible, and vice versa.
And I do listen to Frank. We talk a lot. We talk a lot about our series, and we talk a lot about this series.
You don't have to defend it. I believe you.
No.
For sure.
But I have to check my, and I'm open to Frank. If Frank saw a page and was like, yeah, man, I think you could do better. Because let's be clear. I never say, I think maybe one time I said I don't like that. But what we say now is you could do better. And that's a nice way to put it. And Frank got mad at me once because I said, Frank, you could do better. And I think he didn't talk to me for a day. But I wasn't lying. It wasn't like a sugar-coated way. I know Frank's potential, and I thought that wasn't it. That's clear. And I think if Frank saw a page where I was half-assing it, he has responsibility to say, you could do better, because he's being sincere,
Frank, do you have something last to say? I saw your face and it looked like you had a
It's
thought.
no, because my wife is listening to this conversation, and I'll put this delicately. She is insinuating that our relationship borders on the sexual.
It is, yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
true. It's making me laugh.
I agree with your wife completely.
No, she didn't say it. She mimed it, and I'll let you figure out what exactly that action entailed.
Oh God.
But
You can do better, Frank. Come on, Frank.
Oh
50
my gosh.
seconds isn't enough. Let's go.
she loves nothing more than to, whenever I'm doing a show or podcast, to just be behind my computer, just trying to throw me off my game.
Number
That's
one fan.
love.
She's your number one fan.
Valentine's Day, and I'm doing a podcast talking about father-daughter incest. So it's been a lovely trip.
That's what they call it. That's what Valentine's Day is all about.
Yes. And again, Immortal Coil 3, father-daughter incest, we got you. Where can people find you guys if they are trying to find you?
Social media. I mean,
Cool. Great. Again, this is all up into interpretation for the viewers and the readers.
Whatever you
Never a
consider
solid
so-
answer.
You can find us on MySpace and Friendster and
Friendster. I loved Friendster. Frank is harder to find because there's 2 Frank Martins in comics, by the way. But no one has my name, so type in my name on Instagram, Facebook. We have a Substack together.
Third Contact Comics Substack is the best place to kind of keep up with us.
Yeah, that's a pretty
Fantastic.
good.
Fantastic.
That's the answer, Gerald. Not just social media,
Thank you,
internet.
guys.
If you go into the internet and go
Have
to
you
Bing
heard of the
and
internet,
type in,
Frank? You push a button and there we are.
Whew. All right.
find you. We post our ads on the VFW bulletin board. Just go in, you'll see it. You'll see it there. Take one of the. It
We're
says
at the
"Take Me"
car
with our
wash
phone number
in
on it.
Texarkana down by the overpass. We're waiting for Christopher Albright to notice us.
All right. All right. Well, I am glad we got through that. You guys were fantastic. Thank you guys for showing up. And anyone who watched this, you guys have a wonderful day. Oh,
Thank you, Chris. Happy Valentine's Day.
happy Valentine's Day.
Mwah.
Mwah.
Bait for the bait throw. Trash for the trash throw. Welcome to my emotional thunderdome. I am creative nothingness.